Hey there, welcome back to Tennille Talks. Y'all, to begin the reading, I have a handmade card, and it says, it all starts with a dream. Now, a dream is, or let me say this, dreams are stories and images that our mind creates. And so this reading is going to talk about a specific moment in time where your mind started to create stories and images. Now, the very first card I pull in order to help me understand this moment in time is Hagelas. Now, Hagelas is a rune for hailstone and disruption. Y'all, I want you to imagine sitting in the middle of like a superstorm, like a massive hurricane. That's what this rune represents. You know, sometimes we have to be reminded that nature is a force that we cannot tame. So this is a crisis. This is some type of storm where you learn to be patient and you're like, yo, I gotta wait till the dust settles. Like there's nothing I can do in this situation, y'all. And so when you were sitting in a superstorm, your mind begins to dream. It begins to send you stories and images. Well, the next card I get is the Queen of Coins, aka the Queen of Pentacles. And so this tells me the nature of the dream. The Queen of Coins is generous, highly intelligent. This is somebody who carries seeds. They are very fertile. They have a bunch of ideas. This is somebody who's like a super entrepreneur. Like any seed they plant is a seed that can lead to some type of abundance, beauty, or wealth. This is somebody who enjoys work, but they also like hands-on work, okay? This is somebody who's attractive energetically, but they work well with the earth, right? That is the element that they master. That is the element that they rule over. And so they can draw in, they can manifest, they can build, they create, okay? And so this is a seed planter. And so this is saying that you are sitting in the middle of a superstorm, and your mind gives you images and stories, and those images and stories are carrying the energy of you being fertile, being abundant. You have ideas. You're extremely intelligent. Now, when your mind started to give you those images, that is equivalent to you turning on a flashlight. Y'all know them storms that knock out your power and they knock out your electricity, and you literally can be sitting in darkness in the event that you did not get flashlights and candles. And so this is saying that when your mind gave you images and stories about another version or another aspect of yourself, when you were going through the darkest crisis ever, when your mind did that, it is almost like a flashlight turned on. Y'all, this is saying that you were sitting in a crisis, but you did not let the crisis sit in you. And because you have the ability to do that, you transcended the crisis. You transcended the storm. There was something inside of you that could dream. There was something inside of you that could literally be starting while destruction was happening. Okay. And so internally, a flashlight turns on. Your outer world could have been dark as hell, but you had a flashlight inside. That flashlight is intuition. This is power. This says, oh my God, I can't do anything about my physical world, but I do have a power elsewhere. And so your mind is in agreement, y'all. What I'm saying is we don't always have to crash out. Sometimes we will because we need to, but there is the ability to go through a storm and to still dream and see yourself in another reality, in another way, at another time. When you turn on the flashlight inside of you, that is how you transcend the crisis. When you allow the story, when you allow the visions to come and to surface, when you allow your mind to give you something other than what your physical world is giving you, this is transcendence. This is intuition, and this is power. Y'all, that is what you did. And this is the moment that I'm speaking about. This is what the story is giving us, okay? And so you turn on an internal flashlight when you were sitting through the darkest storm ever. Then I get the energy of the Six of Spades. When you did that, when you had a dream in the middle of a crisis, this says that you said goodbye. And the beautiful thing is, like, when you say goodbye, It was a natural ending, meaning whatever this storm was destroying in your life, whatever this crisis, whatever this destruction was, it was naturally ending something. All you had to do was say goodbye and allow the dream, the vision, and the story of what is to come next. You had to allow it to present itself to you. And so you're like, okay, I guess I got to let it go. Whatever is being destroyed is being destroyed. This is a natural ending. A new beginning must come. This is what your intuition is saying. You got a candle, you got a flashlight. You don't really know what's going to come next. You can't see everything, but something inside of you was like, I must have power elsewhere. If I don't have any power in this situation, my power lies elsewhere. This is the dream. This is what is being given to you about self. And so, yes, this may have been a difficult situation. A lot of things may have ended. Some things were going to close, some doors, right? But it also allowed other doors to open. You had two jobs. I got to have faith that my future is going to be brighter, right? So I only have a candle or a flashlight, but I have faith that at some point the electricity, the power in my life will be restored. Like I will be able to see again. I will have visibility. Things will be clear. Okay. So you got to have faith that the future will be bright. But sometimes we got to sit in darkness to even develop the faith to know that the future, yes, it can be bright again. So not only did you have faith, but then you have patience. I can't do nothing about this crisis. I can't do nothing about this storm. And so I really need to wait until the dust settles. And so you didn't put power in places where you knew you couldn't control. And so this says that you allowed all of your power to be used in a beautiful way, but it was in a crisis. Yo, this is so amazing, right? And so listen, it all starts with a dream. Y'all, your dream can take shape at any time. At any fucking time, your dream can take shape. This one happens in a crisis. So now I'm going to break down the crisis for you. What did the crisis look like? The first handmade card I get, it says, you lie or leave out important information. This says that sometimes we learn to lie because we want to avoid sharing everything, because if we share everything, sometimes we don't feel safe. And so lying has the ability to become a habit. Like if we lie so much, we can do it to the point where it becomes habitual. A lot of times people feel safer when they lie, even in partnerships, even in relationships. When you keep your partner in the dark, sometimes it damages, all the time it damages trust. But the person that keeps their partner in the dark, the person that lies, this is something that stems from early on. It is a safety mechanism. I will keep you in the dark. I will tell you less because it makes me feel safer. I feel safer because if you were to know the entire truth, I would have to feel shame. And so because I don't want to feel shame about the truth, I'm going to tell you a lie. This is what becomes habitual. So lying is a shame-based behavior that we learn as children. And so one of the aspects of the storm or the crisis that you were sitting in is you were sitting amongst liars. You were sitting in a situation where you recognized that you didn't have all of the information. People were withholding things from you, and this was a habitual habit. This is what people do, and people feel safe when they don't tell you everything that you need to know. They feel safe, but it also breaks the trust. And so an aspect of a storm in your life was you recognize that, listen, I need to be responsible for my words. I need to be responsible for my actions. If I want to attract something different, right? Because listen, think about the energy when you're sitting in the middle of liars. Think about the energy of people who always want to kind of like have a one up, right? They always want to make sure that you're just a little bit weaker than them. And so whatever they have to do, whatever they have to say or not say in order to get the advantage, that is the type of these are the relationships. So we got a group of liars, and at some point you recognize inside of self, this is not the way I move, right? If I want to live a life of positivity and beauty, well, then I got to speak positive, I got to act positive, I got to move positive. And so the thing about lying is in that moment you get ahead, but you are really separating yourself from truth and authenticity, meaning you're never really going to get to where you want to get to. The shame that you are avoiding, you're just saving it all to the end. And so, no, you don't have to feel shame in the moment that you don't tell the truth. You are just putting it on layaway for a later date. You are not the type of person that moves that way. Y'all, these are even the lies that we tell ourselves. So after we get the energy of you recognizing I'm responsible for my words, I'm responsible for my actions, because whatever I do now is going to create a situation for me later. Okay. Now I got the energy of the Grim Reaper. This is almost like you recognizing that I'm in a situation with people who don't honor what I honor, which means when the Grim Reaper comes, some shit's gotta die. Something's got to go. And so the Grim Reaper says you gotta confront your darkest fears. You have to accept the unknown, meaning if people have been lying to you, there's a lot of shit you don't know. And sometimes you have to accept there's always something I don't know. Although we really want to know it, we got to accept there are some things we just will never know. And so the Grim Reaper is literally a moment where death says something needs to end. Okay. And so you find the strength to face the inevitable. You let go, death comes, and then here comes the new beginning. And so the first step in your crisis was addressing lies. Okay, so the Grim Reaper comes. What is the Grim Reaper bringing an end to? I have the energy of the Five of Spears, aka the Five of Wands. This is about challenges, competition, test, people who carry differences of opinion, but this is like squabbles. This is like always feeling like, why do I always feel like I'm fighting? Why does everything have to feel like I'm sparring or I'm training? And so one of the things that you want to end in your life, right? And this is why you shape up your tongue. This is why you shape up your behavior, because you're like, I don't want to have to keep going through this, right? So I'm not going to lie to myself about who you are, but I'm also not going to allow you to lie to me, because that is not the energy that I want in the future. I don't want to be ashamed of nothing in the future. So let me just shoot straight. But I also don't want to be surrounded by people who can't shoot straight. And so the Grim Reaper says you're going to have to end something here. These relationships, these people that battle you, these people who lie, who don't have the integrity, you got to get rid of that. But why do you have to get rid of it? Well, I have the rune of Therazaz. The image on this card has somebody wearing a face mask. And so this rune doesn't say that you're under attack, but it says that you recognize, I got to protect myself. So when we wear a face mask, it is not an indication that we are absolutely going to get sick. It says, I understand that a sickness is out there. In order to be mature, in order to be responsible for my well-being, I need a defense. I need to protect myself. And so you recognize that I'm surrounded by liars, but I value me. I value my word. I value my actions. I got to end these connections. I got to end this battle because it's testing me. It's draining my energy. And so you put up a level of defense, aka you wear a face mask based on the image, right? And so this is about you becoming cautious, you becoming alert, but this is also you being very calm. When you protect yourself, when you put up anything to defend yourself, this is deliberate, but it's hard to create a protection. It's hard to defend yourself if you're crashing out. And so there is a level of calmness that you learn to adopt and implement while you are surrounded by falsity. Right. And so when I talk about lying, this is like you just walking through life and not really knowing the truth that surrounds you. You being in the crisis and not even having all the details. But the people around you are each carrying pieces to the crisis. Like they know, but they're not telling you. OK, so that was the first piece. OK, I need to end these connections. I need to defend and protect myself because I recognize that this can attack me. Not that like it's attacking me, but it has the potential. So I'm going to mind my words. I'm going to mind my actions, and I am going to sever the relationships that don't honor that. Yo, when the Grim Reaper came and you allowed the Grim Reaper to do what the Grim Reaper does, something happens inside of you. Y'all, it all started with the dream. The next card I have, it says higher evolution is coded within you. When you decide that I cannot deal with shit that is not true, when you get rid or you cut off of anything that lives a lie, you make room for truth. When you make room for truth, you have just picked up the most powerful weapon that you will ever hold in your own life. Truth is the code to higher evolution. When you release the lie, when you release the liars, right? When you recognize that, you're like, only truth can live here. Yo, so something unlocks inside of you when the Grim Reaper does what the Grim Reaper does. And now I got the energy of the Two of Clubs. This says an unexpected gift, a bonus, a surprise, a lottery, a kindred spirit, something, but it was really about a code. When you chose something higher, you became something higher. You evolved. That was the gift. This gift, now the next card I have is witch. Everybody don't describe themselves as a witch, but I want you to describe what this energy is saying. And so you unlock a code by recognizing the value in your own truth. You get a gift. This gift allows you to use two things. You can now use your thoughts and you can now use your intentions to change your life. Do you understand that that is a power? When your thoughts and your intentions change your life, it's because you recognize that there are thoughts and intention. There are things out there that will destroy my life. I'm not picking that up, and I'm not dealing with people who pick it up or who use it. Yo, like, I hope I'm making this clear. So it's almost like you become a walking magic spell. Okay, that is what this higher evolution code that unlocks in you. That is what this gift does. It allows you to become a spell. It allows you now to become a ritual. So now when you start interacting with things, it is almost like you're walking magic. You start to manifest, right? And the universe is responding to you because of the energy you are emitting. But you are emitting an energy that the universe understands, aka truth. Right? But you first had to acknowledge the falsities, the lies. So now we get the energy of temperance. You're like, oh shit, I can manifest, I can create, but now you got to temper this thing. And so this talks about the energy of balance. Temperance says, I got to adjust. Maybe I gotta negotiate. Like, this is just about you learning how to tweak your manifestation abilities. Okay? This is you learning how to work the gift. The code has been unlocked. You have evolved. You are something higher than you were before. Now temper it. Now tweak it. Now the next rune I have in order to describe how you must temper it is Jera. So Jera talks about a good harvest, right? And so this is saying, when you use this gift, you must recognize that this is a seasonal gift, meaning when you use your intuition, when you manifest, when you use your thought, when you use your intention, when you plant a seed and when the universe responds to you, it responds in seasons. So you must be balanced in how you put your energy out, but also recognize that it's not coming back to you all at once. And so the day you plant the seed is not the day that you get the harvest. And so you start to understand the timing of the universe. It's not instant. It's not a microwave type of system. So when I say temper, this is about you being like, okay, so if I plant this seed now, when does this kind of seed grow, right? And when I'm saying plant a seed, I'm talking about energy. I'm talking about thoughts, right? We're literally talking about thoughts and intentions. You are learning how to plant them, and then you are watching them grow into a harvest that rewards you. Your thoughts and your intentions can bring you a harvest and a reward. Yes, when you unlock a higher code of evolution, it can, but it will only unlock in you when you pick up truth and release falsity. So, y'all, this is still all happening in your crisis, and it all started with a dream. Now, the next and final portion of this reading, I'm going to give you I'm going to read one of my handmade cards. It says, you disassociate often. Okay, so we're about to talk about dissociation. It says you disassociate often when stress is constant and overwhelming. You naturally disconnect to cope. You know what I understand? You ever touch something hot? If something is hot, you want to drop that shit immediately. You don't want to hold on to it too long. That's what disassociation is. Sometimes the present moment is so painful that we just have to disconnect. We just got to let it go, right? Because the stress is constant, meaning if I pick up something hot, I keep feeling it burning me. It's constant. It won't stop. It's overwhelming me. And I just want to disconnect. I want to put the hot shit down because I'm trying to cope with this type of pain. And so now we're getting to something that happens inside of you, but it turns, listen, after you recognize how to navigate your thoughts and intentions, after you temper your own harvest, then spirit is like, okay, I get the energy of the 4 of spades. And so the 4 of spades talks about restrictions, limitations, illness, isolations, things being canceled, things being messed. And so this says, now I want you to work on one more thing. In the present moment, so remember, we're still in this crisis, okay? But you're in the crisis learning how to master the crisis. And so the final piece of you mastering this crisis, this is when you make this crisis your bitch. Do you understand me? When you go through something destructive and you come out like a beautiful queen of coins or a queen of pentacles, people are like, how the fuck did you? It's because you ate the crisis, bite by bite by bite. But you didn't eat it alone. Right? Okay, so here's the thing. Spirit says there's one more thing we need you to work on, okay? Right? And so you're sitting in the middle of the crisis, but we want to teach you that you don't have to let the crisis sit in you. And so when you are in the energy of being restricted, when you are being limited, when you feel like you are imprisoned and isolated, when you are feeling all of the things that you do not want to feel, oftentimes you disassociate because the present moment is too painful. And so Spirit essentially says that this does something to you. When you disassociate from the present moment because it's too painful, it causes you inner conflict. When you are fighting with yourself inside of yourself, it disconnects you from your path or your purpose. And so the crisis that is coming to you is going to not only teach you how to handle and eat during a crisis, but it is also going to teach you how not to leave your path. Do not disconnect. Stay on this path. Do not let your purpose go. I don't care how strong them winds are. I don't care how deep that thunder rumbles through your soul. Do not drop your purpose. Do not get off your path. And so sometimes disassociation, it's almost like you go somewhere inside of yourself to get away from the thing that is too painful to handle in the present moment. And Spirit is like, yeah, but we don't want you to do that, because when you do that, you limit yourself, you restrict yourself, you cut yourself off from an entire experience. Yes, the experience may be painful, but it has something there for you. There is a power in the pain. But if you want away from the pain, you'll never find the power. And so there is something about disassociation. There is something about you needing to learn how to walk through stress and overwhelm so that you can cope, right? And the thing is like once you learn how to get through it, you have learned how to get through it. But if we run from the pain, we haven't been able to conquer it. Okay, now here's the thing, y'all. The next card I have is the Hierophant. Little did you know, all you had to do was show up to the pain. Why? Because one of the codes inside of you pegs you. It designs you. It says that, listen, when you walk around, remember I said you're kind of like a walking spell. You drop seeds with your intentions and your thoughts, y'all. The way you manifest, you develop into a hierophant, meaning there is a divinity in you. And so we needed you to not run from the pain because you actually have all the codes. You have the recipes. You carry divine law. And the divine law that you carry tells you how to move through stress. It tells you how to cope. And every time we kept sending you pain, you kept running. And you didn't even know that you had this power, right? Because the present was too painful. You're like, all right, I'll be back. I'll deal with it later. And Spirit is like, no, but your path is here. Like your purpose is in the pain. Don't leave the path. And so y'all, when you decided to no longer disassociate from the constant stress, and when you felt like I'm not going to disconnect, I'm just going to hold on. I know it's hot. It's burning the fuck out of me, but I'm not going to drop it. You unlocked your identity as a fucking hierophant. Y'all, it all started with a dream. All I'm telling you is that there are certain crises that you walk through, and they are going to shape you and reveal things to you about yourself that you never knew were possible or even real. And so at the end of this reading, I'm talking to a hierophant, but it is somebody who had a dream in darkness. In darkness, you allowed your intuition to be a flashlight. You allowed your intuition to be a candle. And it revealed to you that there is power in this crisis. Whatever is closing, whatever is ending, let's allow it. Because this is really a time of planting seeds. It don't look like it. It don't feel like anything good is ever going to come out of this. Yo, but something inside of you allowed the dream to give you stories and to give you images. And so at the end of this, you are a hierophant. You carry spiritual knowledge. You have the ability to live a life where your body, mind, and soul are connected. They're all working in tandem. Y'all, this could also mean that you may have the calling of like a spiritual leader. Maybe you're a mentor, but there is something about your pain that was supposed to shape you into this type of status, the status of the hierophant. And once you learned how to hold on to the thing that was hot, or how to walk through the thing that was painful, that was the path. That was the purpose. Okay. And you could only get through it. Why? Because you had to pick up the truth. And you can only pick up the truth when you decided to put down the lie, or when you decided to put down the liars. And so the rune that comes out describing you as the hierophant is Perthro. Perthro says, it is a rune. You know what Perthro? Perthro means cup. It means a container. Y'all, if I have a cup, you don't know what's in it. Right? You would have to literally like either ask me, or you would have to go look in the cup. You'd have to taste it, smell it. Like you'd have to figure. And so Perthro says, like, when you walked through the pain, when you acknowledged and just allowed the pain to be the pain without disassociating or disconnecting, you found out that you were actually holding something in your cup, but you had to look in it. Do you understand what I'm saying, y'all? Every time you walked away from pain, you walked away from a cup. Perthro, the rune, it talks about a cup, but it talks about secret. It talks about hidden knowledge, meaning you had to drink from it. You had to drink from the pain in order to understand that you carry the calling of the hierophant, in order to understanding your own divinity, in order to make sense of divine law, in order, like you had to go to the cup and drink from it, in order to recognize that you carried the codes to get from it. Oh, pain is coming to me because I know how to get from it. I'm a walking ritual. I am walking magic. I am a walking spell. And so when I approach pain, I just have to touch it. I have to touch pain with a pure thought, or with a thought of truth, or with a true intention, and I can transform pain. Y'all, that is another gift unlocked. But you had to face the pain to find the power. Yes. Yo, but it all started with a dream. Yo, so I don't know what this crisis is that you went through, that you're going through, or that you understand is approaching. Wherever you are in the story, you've got like 4 jobs to do. So the first one is to allow the crisis to destroy whatever it wants to destroy. Don't you dare try to stop that storm. But what you must do is allow the vision, allow the story, and allow the images to be presented to you about what comes next. That is how you transcend the storm. The next thing, anything that is destroyed, it was a lie. Sometimes it'll be relationships. Sometimes it'll be people. And in the process of you recognizing what is true and what is false, protect yourself. a defense is needed. And when the Grim Reaper shows up to get rid of people, places, and things that are not carrying your truth, you got to let the Grim Reaper take them, because it's going to make way for all things that are pure and true and in alignment. Okay? Now, when the truth comes to you and when you pick it up, this is a code. This is a code of higher evolution. This is a gift. When you carry truth, you are a manifester. All you need is truth. When you carry truth, you can set the intention and you can have a thought. Because it stems from truth, the universe is going to understand you because of the energy that you are emitting. But just because you carry truth, just because you set the intention, just because you work your magic, it doesn't mean that everything comes immediately. So here is temperance. Learn, when I plant this seed, how long does it take to come? When I plant this seed, right? And so this is about you balancing your harvest, balancing your cycles, recognizing that life really is a seasonal event. Certain things are going to happen at certain times, right? And then finally, after you temper your ability to manifest and communicate with the universe, there's one more thing that must be shown to you about you. When you stay on this path and when you don't leave, and listen, truth is the strongest weapon in the world. And so that is the beautiful thing. The only reason why you could get through the pain and no longer disassociate is because you really picked up the most powerful weapon, truth. You knew what was true about you. You knew what was true about life or your path or your purpose, but you first had to put the lie down, right? And so y'all, this is a series of events. And in your life, it may seem like, oh, this is no big deal. I just decided I wasn't going to be in that relationship, or I just decided, like, it seems like you just made a simple decision. But when I'm telling you, these things are monumental in the story of your own soul's journey, okay? And it all started with a dream that happened in the middle of a crisis. Y'all, so this is beautiful. And you should be proud of yourself. All right, y'all, I love you. This is our Thursday message. Okay, I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.